Hello friends and potential friends. Well, this is probably going to be kind of a short video. I'm out in the lab again, and this is probably going to be the absolute worst lab update of the year because there ain't nothing in here. I've got my catnip full of flowers, hoping I get some seeds out of it. A few rosemary cuttings that I'm rooting, and my Praxis cherry tomato. Still has plenty of tomatoes on it. None of them are ripening yet. I keep that guy in here because it's getting kind of hard to get seeds for that. In fact, the only place you can buy Praxis cherry seeds is from Ray Browning's Little Shop of Seeds channel. Well, not channel, website. He grows them himself and collects as many seeds as he can and puts them in his seed shop. So if you don't get them when they're available, you don't get them. As far as everything else in here, this side of the lab is empty. This is where I put my plants when I want to harden them off to get them ready to go outside. I set the lights to match the daytime outside, put them in here for a week or so before I move them out. That helps get them a little bit better acclimated. But that's all we got. Everything else has been moved outside or moved down the street to my buddy's garden. And I can't plant any more seeds because we are still in the middle of our hot, dry season. Down here in Central Florida, generally April and May are pretty dry and pretty hot. In fact, the last couple of weeks probably will be the hottest temperatures we've seen or will see for the whole year. On top of that, the humidity drops down to generally below 50% most days, something we're not used to around here. So I've been trying to keep my plants alive. I can't plant any more seeds because I don't really have much water to water them with. But I do have some plans, still have things to keep me busy, so let's walk outside and I'll show you a project that I'm fixing to work on. Well, I mentioned it's been hot and dry. Figured I'd give you a little example of what we've been dealing with down here in Central Florida. As you can see, my weather records, we've been consistently above 80, generally in the mid 80s, low to mid 80s. A couple of particularly hot days into the 90s, and then our last appreciable cold front that came through on the 13th, we actually had highs that stayed in the 70s. Meanwhile, the last real rain we had was ahead of that front, got 1 1/3 inches that day. Haven't seen much of anything since, so we're running quite a bit below average for this time of year. Humidities, the highs are usually up in the 90s during the morning, but then they drop in the afternoons, the stuff we're not used to. Look at that, 21% humidity. There ain't enough water in the air to breathe when it gets down that low. Most average around 50 to 60%, which is still pretty low by our standards. And what I think is really the killer is the ultraviolet. Now you see that one anomaly, 14. Anything above 8 is considered very high. Those are the ones I've got in red here. And as you can see, that's most days, 8 or 9. The 14 I think is an anomaly because it usually occurs first thing in the morning. I suspect there's probably a little bit of dew on the sensor that causes it to register that high for a brief amount of time. And as for right now, there we are. It's 12:30 in the afternoon, 85.5 degrees out there. The UV is up around 5 right now. It'll probably get up to 8 within the next hour because right now my weather station is still partially shaded. And we're holding at 68% humidity, so maybe it won't be quite so terrible out there today. But I think that our dry, hot May is intended to make us better appreciate hurricane season, which starts in a few days, June 1st. And quite frankly, if we don't get some rain here pretty soon, you're liable to see me out in the backyard doing a rain dance and hoping for a tropical storm to come by to water my garden because I'm getting real low on water. I mentioned how hot and dry it gets this time of year. As you can see, the garden is kind of droopy. Gets this way every afternoon this time of year. Now I water these guys exclusively with water I catch off the roof and put into this 275-gallon tote. I wouldn't want to give my plants city water. I don't drink it myself, and I certainly wouldn't want them to drink it. But at the moment, there's less than 100 gallons of water in this tank, and I desperately need some rain to get it filled back up again. My 55-gallon tank over here is empty. Has been for a couple of weeks. But though it's not going to help me much this year, the other day I picked up another 275-gallon tote. So I'm going to be putting that together. I'm going to try to do it right this time. I want to put on a first flush diverter, and I'll be catching water off of that roof. When we get afternoon thunderstorms, I get a wall of water coming off of that roof, and I'm guessing probably one good thunderstorm will fill up that tote. Needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but it is a food grade tote and it's been used for rain catchment in the past. So I'm going to be putting up some gutters up here, running them down to this end. I'll be setting up the tote right here behind my trailer, and because it's visible from the street, I'll have to do something to try to purdy it up a little bit. And if all goes well, next year I won't have an issue with rain. That should give me about 550, 600 gallons. It's going to be a bit of a project. Probably take me some time to do it. I'll try to record things as I go along, and eventually probably give you one video that shows the whole process. Meanwhile, I'm going to get back inside because it's just past noon and it's starting to get hot out here again. So I'll see you on the next video.